It's difficult for an 18-year-old athlete to turn down the millions of dollars that come with a professional contract, especially if his family struggles financially. On the other hand, remaining in college for 2 years often does a lot of good for the player in terms of their development. In the earliest days of the NBA, 3 players entered without having played in college. However, the league eventually established a rule that a player could not make himself available for the draft until 4 years after his high school graduation. The NBA has a rule that requires players to be 19 years old or have completed 1 year of college before becoming eligible for the NBA draft. The rule was instituted in 2007, a delayed reaction to LeBron James having skipped college and gone straight from high school to the pros in 2003, proving that for the truly elite players, the transition was not hard. In the MLB, one is eligible for the draft out of high school, but once he goes to college, he must stay there for 3 years. The NFL requires players to go to college for 2 years. Why should one go to the pros early? It's where the money is. A lot of guys do it because of their financial situation and they need to do it. That's the only way to provide a better means for their family. There is also the injury concern. If the player suffers a potential career-threatening injury during his years in college, who becomes responsible for the money he loses out down the road? Missing the window. It's impossible to predict the future, but once an athlete misses a window of an opportunity, the road to the pros gets that much harder. The dynamic of teenagers entering the NBA has been going on for a generation. Why should one stay in college? Having a college degree is your safety net. An injury may end your basketball career, but it is unlikely to prevent you from making good use of a college degree. More experience. Most college athletes see their playing time drop upon joining a professional team. More time in college gives the athletes more playing time to hone their skills and develop as an athlete. Improved stock. Staying in school can give athletes more time to improve and impress scouts. Prepare for life after sports. Whether an athlete's career is long or short, it will inevitably come to an end. While there are several professional athletes who are able to find work in sports after retirement, having a diploma opens up doors once the playing days come to a close. Their scholarships typically provide full funding for a 4-year college education, a remarkable opportunity to learn how the world works before trying to find their way in it. Millions of Americans would kill for this opportunity. Players' families, in most cases, understand this and want their sons to enjoy the fruits of a college education. College coaches certainly don't want their best athletes to leave early, not only so they can field good teams, but also because they will have a wasted scholarship that could have gone to a more committed student athlete. There are also a limited number of jobs in the professional sports franchises. The NBA, for example, has only 450 roster spots. For basketball, baseball, and football, there are fewer than 3,000 on-field jobs for athletes. Any high school student with the talent to get a scholarship to attend a university for 4 years should focus on the business aspects of their sport. Finally, making the pros is a long shot, but the rewards, even when success comes, are not worth losing the benefits of a college education. Do you think athletes should be required to stay in college longer? How would the game change if players were required to stay in college longer? Do you think the popularity of college sports would change if athletes were required to stay longer? What do you think are the negative effects of not finishing college to go pro?
I don't have a problem with guys leaving early, and I don't have a problem, contrary to popular belief. I don't try to recruit guys that are staying 4 years or 1 year. I mean, I loved Zach Randolph, and I loved, guys Dede, and I just still, I'm going to say it till I'm done with this profession. I feel sorry for those freshmen and sophomores. I mean, I think there's so much pressure put on them, and I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong what TV's done. I think it's wrong what you guys do. I just do. I understand it.
Out of your past players who left early, do you think they would have been better off if they stayed in college longer? Do you think athletes staying in college longer would hurt the chances of smaller schools winning a championship?
But what's the one thing, if you could change one thing about the NBA, Charles Barkley, what would it be?
I would like for kids to stay in the college longer because I think we bring a lot of guys into the NBA who are not mentally or physically ready. College is a really good time, and it's not always just about the money. And I don't hate on people for wanting money, God bless them, but we're not putting a good product out there right now. The NBA is not where I want it to be as a fan, because I'm a fan first and foremost, and I don't like what the product is right now.
Former UNC coach Dean Smith would tell players, "We have one rule here. We do what's best for the player out of season and what's best for the team in season." Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, sat on a panel discussion just before the tournament and said, "I happen to dislike the one and done rule enormously and wish it didn't exist. I think it forces young men to go to college who have little or no interest in going to college." There are some successful players who didn't go to college. In 1997, 86% of the All-Stars spent 3 or 4 years in college. 5 years later, in 2002, the number had dropped to 50%. By 2007, the number was down to 34%. By 2012, a paltry 20% of All-Stars had spent 3 or 4 years in college. The MVP has been won by 4-year college players 4 times in the last decade. The other 6 winners went to 1 combined year of college.
If I try to convince a kid, you really need to come back, I'm going to improve your free throw shooting, I'll change your position so you're more prepared. The minute I go that route and start, the people around them are going to say what?
They're going to say that you don't have his best interest at heart.
I want to win more games,
Absolutely.
And it's about me winning.
That's it.
With so many players leaving school so soon to go to the pros, the appeal of the game has been going down. Regular season college basketball TV ratings and attendance have been dropping for several years. There is an ongoing discussion on how to fix college basketball and make it more appealing to fans.
Good for the sport of college basketball. They want the NBA to change the rule, and I think it's fantastic that high-profile coaches like Tom Izzo are willing to say, and tell us, tell the media, tell everybody out there that's promoting this kind of stuff, this is not the way that college basketball should be run.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned, Rick, that it's an NBA rule. This is not an NCAA rule. And so when you look at this situation, you hear Boeheim, you hear Izzo, they understand what college basketball is all about. It's about guys that want to be here. And so if you don't want to be in college sports, give them the opportunity to go right to the NBA. If they have the ability to do that, Rick, let them go. But the game of college basketball is not going to suffer with guys that want to be here.
Keeping the nation's best players on campus for at least 2 years would only help. The 2-year rule would also provide much more roster stability for coaching staffs around the country, even with the number of players transferring school at an all-time high. Also, the baseball rule would be effective where one has the choice to go pro, but if he chooses college, he must stay for 3 years.
Comes to an end with a UConn championship. The Huskies once again are in basketball heaven.
Changes are needed to be made in the game of college basketball.